Hello and welcome. You're tuned into WION World as One. This is Race to Power, and tonight power is changing hands yet again. US President Donald Trump is at odds with Senate Republicans over Save America Act. He has put a crucial bipartisan housing bill on hold until Senate passes his flagship electoral reforms. Gen Z protests are also underway in Kenya. Protesters and police have clashed in parts on the national capital. We give you the details and much more in today's episode. US President is pressing hard on his Save America Act. Senate Republicans are now on Trump's firing line. The battle is paying out at the Capitol Hill, which is the home of US Congress. President and American lawmakers are at odds over Trump's flagship electoral reforms. Donald Trump has scrapped a bipartisan housing bill until Democrats and Republicans they find a way to pass the Save America Act. The housing bill is aimed at boosting housing supply, easing construction rules, and expanding access to home ownership. This comes as high rents, elevated mortgage costs, and a shortage of homes weigh on Americans. Previously, Donald Trump has used the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, and the appointment of a Director of National Intelligence as leverage in his effort to advance his Save America Act. Under Save America Act, formal identification will be mandatory to cast vote. Secondly, citizenship will be must for voter registration. Additionally, the act will end usage of mail-in ballots, barring some exceptions. The act has been cleared by the House of Representatives, but remains stuck in the Senate, where Republicans lack the number to get it through without support from Democrats. US President announced the move to scrap signing of the housing bill on his Truth Social platform. He called Save America Act a desperate need and a national emergency. Now, Trump's refusal to sign the bill may prove largely symbolic, as under the US Constitution, a bill becomes law after 10 days if the president neither signs nor vetoes it while Congress is in session. We also know Trump's visit to the Capitol Hill turned combative when he challenged senators for rebuking him over the Iran war. The fiery exchange follows a congressional vote on war powers resolution. Now, earlier, 4 Republicans backed Democrat effort directing Trump to end Iran war or seek congressional approval. One of these lawmakers came in Trump's line of fire. In a closed-door lunch event, Trump reportedly engaged in a shouting match with Republican Senator Bill Cassidy. Things eventually went downhill when Trump reportedly raised his voice on Bill Cassidy after he insisted on voting for war powers resolutions. And that is until there is a congressional briefing on the developments in Iran. The report also alleged that the US president called Senator Cassidy a lunatic. Following this, Senator Cassidy also responded by shouting back at the US president, acknowledging that he had lost his temper. However, Cassidy said he is not going to make any apologies for standing up to the US president. He even added that he demanded President Trump to share more information with the Senate and the American people. This clash comes after Trump backed Cassidy's rival candidate in the Republican primary. Bill Cassidy became the first incumbent senator to lose a Republican primary in 14 years. Well, Democrats have turned affordability into a major electoral issue, while Trump thinks Save America Act is a key reform to ensure victory in the upcoming midterms. For more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani is joining us live on the broadcast from New York. Susan, for a president who prizes his loyalty so much, isn't it concerning that there are so many cracks inside the Republican Party?
Yeah, notably for the White House. President Trump himself has said time and again that with all the problems that the Democratic Party has and has had, they were always united when they took control of the House and the Senate. And we're not really seeing this kind of unity among the Republican Party, although outwardly he does praise members on Capitol Hill. However, we see that behind closed doors, there are definitely cracks. And most of it really started to surface after the war with Iran that we're seeing, for example, this back and forth with Bill Cassidy. The problem with this is because the president was so angry that there were a number of Republicans who sided with Democrats in sort of trying to rein in his war powers, he then suspended a housing package signing that was very instrumental for a lot of these Republicans back home to win seats in the midterm election. He's saying that he's going to hold that housing package hostage until Republicans get their act together and pass the Save America Act. As you mentioned, that's his sort of bill to raise national voting standards, something, again, that some Republicans are not on the same page with others. That's why they haven't been able to pass the Save America Act ahead of the midterms, despite the fact of having a majority in both houses. So, yeah, things do not look good in terms of unity for the Republicans. I think Mike Johnson is going to have his hands full and, of course, an earful from President Trump when he visits him at the White House next time.
But as we talk about rifts, it's evident and established that the rifts are possible in Democratic Party as well. Moderates and socialists, they are divided. In the Republican Party, there's pro-war, anti-war debate going on. How do you see this playing out during the midterm elections?
Yeah, well, the Democrats really do have a problem right now. They have a messaging problem. And for the past year or so, since President Trump was elected, they haven't been able to have a unified message themselves. They have internal problems as well. But what we're seeing, and is maybe concerning for some established Democrats, is the rise of these progressive socialists in states like New York and elsewhere, even in New Jersey. So whether or not they're going to try to change that messaging and, become the party of the working class once again is yet to be seen. But right now, they have a plan to criticize the Republicans. They haven't put out a plan and a single messaging to say how they're going to solve Americans' problems, notably when it comes to the economy and, of course, inflation.
Of course, Susan, it'll be interesting to see how it eventually plays out. Thank you for sharing the latest updates and joining us on the broadcast. Moving on with the United States itself, it is approaching its 250th anniversary. Multiple pollsters are trying to understand the pulse of the world's oldest continuous democracy. A new survey conducted by Gallup reveals a striking contrast in how Americans view their nation's journey. According to the poll, only 19% of Americans believe that founding fathers would be pleased with how the country has turned out. In contrast, 77% say the founding fathers would be disappointed with the state of the nation today. The finding reflects a sharp shift in public sentiment over the past 2 decades. In 2001, just 42% of Americans thought the founders would be disappointed. That figure rose to 71% in 2013 and has now climbed to 77% as the nation approaches its historic milestone. On the other side, the survey also reveals a more optimistic side of the American story. Despite their concerns about the present, most Americans believe the country has made significant progress toward the ideals on which it was founded. Nearly 7 in 10 respondents say the United States has progressed in advancing its founding principles. 20% say the nation has made a great deal of progress, while another 49% believe it has made a fair amount of progress. The contrast is striking. Many see a successful historical journey, but a troubling present moment. The view that the founders would be disappointed is shared across political, racial, age, and income groups, suggesting a sentiment that goes beyond partisan divides. Now, 2 years after Kenya's Gen Z movement shook the government and forced the withdrawal of a controversial tax bill, the country remembers those killed during the 2024 anti-government protests. Authorities have deployed heavy security across major cities, setting the stage for another tense showdown between protesters and the state. Protesters and police clashed in Nairobi. The security forces detained several protesters and fired tear gas shells to disperse the crowd. Now, the government has deployed massive police force in parts of Kenya. Police have even sealed off key roads leading into the Kenyan capital. Today marks 2 years since the Gen Z-led anti-government demonstrations that rocked the country in 2024. Those protests began over proposed tax hikes, but quickly evolved into a wider movement against rising living costs, unemployment, and corruption. The demonstrations ultimately forced President William Ruto's government to withdraw the controversial finance bill. Now thousands of young Kenyans are returning to the streets yet again. This time, protesters say they are demanding justice for more than 120 people who were killed during the same original demonstrations and subsequent anniversary protests. Many say the economic hardships and inequalities that triggered the movement remain unresolved. One protester says the gathering is about remembering those who paid the ultimate price.
I am a Gen Z. Today I came to remember our colleagues who died because of the protests. They were not fighting for themselves, they were fighting for all of us.
Police officers on horseback have been dispersing crowds attempting to gather in parts of the capital, while surveillance has been increased around strategic locations. Some residents say the restrictions are already affecting daily life.
We want peaceful protests. You can see they have even locked us out. I did not go to work. I've lost quite a lot now.
The government insists it respects the right to peaceful assembly, but says law and order must be maintained.
Tomorrow is a normal working and school day. However, the police are in receipt of a notification by some citizens who would like to engage in public demonstrations. The government respects the constitutional rights of all Kenyans to peacefully assemble for whatever reason on any day, any time.
From a tax protest to a generational movement, Kenya's Gen Z uprising has become a powerful symbol of youth-driven political activism. Britain could be on the verge of a major political shake-up. With Keir Starmer stepping aside, all eyes are now on Andy Burnham. Now the self-styled King of the North, who looks set to take over as Prime Minister. And if Burnham gets his way, the centre of power in Britain may no longer be in London. For more than 3 centuries, 10 Downing Street has been the beating heart of British politics, but now Andy Burnham wants to rewrite that tradition. The former Greater Manchester mayor is reportedly planning one of the boldest changes in modern British politics, that is moving parts of the Prime Minister's operation out of London and into Manchester. With a clear message that if power can be spread across Britain, why should government remain concentrated in the capital? Fresh from a parliamentary victory in Makerfield and emerging as the overwhelming favourite to succeed Keir Starmer, Burnham is preparing to unveil his vision for a dramatically more devolved UK. Time and again, he has argued that Britain suffers from some of the worst regional inequalities. His solution? To shift decision-making closer to communities and give regions greater control over their own futures. The reportedly proposed Manchester base for parts of Number 10 is expected to become a powerful symbol of that very agenda. Burnham's political journey has been anything but ordinary. A former cabinet minister under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, he twice failed in bids to lead the Labour Party before leaving Westminster altogether. But as Mayor of Greater Manchester, he reinvented himself. Championing local transport reforms, regional investment and northern interests, he earned the nickname the King of the North. Now that regional success story could become a national blueprint, but Burnham's challenges extend far beyond domestic politics. Waiting on his desk will be complex negotiations with the European Union. Talks on trade, emissions and food standards are taking place. However, youth mobility remains a major sticking point. Brussels wants cheaper university access for European students in Britain, a demand London says could come at a heavy cost. And with key EU negotiations reportedly approaching, Burnham could find himself stepping into office at a vital time for UK politics. The question now is whether Britain's next Prime Minister can transform northern ambition into national policy. Because if Burnham succeeds, the road to power may no longer begin or end in London.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Shifting our focus to India now, the political storm around Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann is only getting bigger. What began as a controversy over an alleged sacrilege video has now snowballed into a full-blown political showdown with opposition parties demanding his resignation. The SGPC calling for him to step down and fresh questions emerging over forensic reports that were used to defend him. The CM is facing one of the toughest political battles of his tenure. The matter has been escalated after the controversy of an alleged sacrilege video that opposition parties claim features the chief minister. Mann has repeatedly denied the allegation, insisting the video is fake and part of a larger campaign to tarnish his image. But the controversy has deepened after Haryana police registered a case linked to alleged forged forensic reports that were used to challenge the video's authenticity. Investigators are now probing whether fabricated documents were created to influence the narrative.
ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਇਹੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਜਾਂਚ ਕਰਾ ਲਿਓ ਜੀ ਇਹ ਵੀਡੀਓ 'ਚ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਸ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੀ ਸਰੀਰਕ ਬਾਡੀ ਦਾ ਸਟਰਕਚਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ 2 ਇੰਚ ਕੱਦ ਉੱਚਾ ਹੈ ਕੱਦ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਉੱਚਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਜੀ
Addressing the media, Mann even displayed videos and images that he claimed showed another individual wearing a mask resembling his face. He argued that key physical features visible on him were missing in the controversial clip. However, the opposition is refusing to buy his claims because the issue has already reached the Akal Takht, which earlier issued an edict against the Mann after forensic assessments reportedly found the video authentic.
वो कुछ लोग जिनके मन में थोड़ी सी शंका थी, शक था, डाउट था कि क्या ये बेअदबी वीडियो असली है या एआई जनरेटेड है, फेक है, आज उनके मन से भी तमाम डाउट और शक दूर हो गए क्योंकि भगवंत मान और आम आदमी पार्टी को असली बेअदबी वीडियो छुपाने के लिए एक फर्जी फॉरेंसिक रिपोर्ट बनवानी पड़ी.
Meanwhile, the SGPC, Congress, BJP and Shiromani Akali Dal have intensified pressure on the Chief Minister. Several leaders are demanding an impartial probe, registration of a criminal case and even Mann's resignation. The latest twist came after 2 arrests were made by Haryana police in connection with the alleged procurement of a fabricated forensic report. Now, with multiple investigations underway and religious bodies weighing in, the controversy has moved far beyond a viral video and turned into a full political firestorm, with Punjab polls on guard. And for Bhagwant Mann, the challenge now is not just proving his innocence, but containing a crisis that is rapidly turning into one of Punjab's biggest political flashpoints. Months before the crucial political battle for Uttar Pradesh, the Bharatiya Janata Party has undertaken a major organizational overhaul in the state. In a sweeping restructuring exercise, the BJP has replaced all 6 of its regional presidents and announced a new team of office bearers. The move is aimed at strengthening its grassroots network and sharpening preparations for upcoming polls. State's BJP President Pankaj Chaudhary, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, senior state leaders and the party's central leadership was involved in the decision-making. Now, the BJP has appointed 19 vice presidents, 8 general secretaries and 19 state ministers as office bearers. And in a most significant change, all 6 regional presidents have been replaced. The list includes Rajnath Singh's younger son, Neeraj Singh. He has been appointed as the new state vice president, replacing his eldest son and MLA Pankaj Singh. The BJP has also inducted former Samajwadi Party MLA Pooja Pal into its team and even announced her as the new state vice president of Uttar Pradesh. Party leaders say the new team will expand BJP's social outreach and strengthen its organizational machinery ahead of the state assembly elections. The restructuring also comes against the backdrop of the Samajwadi Party's continued focus on its social coalition. BJP leaders indicate that regional and community representation was a key factor in finalizing the new appointments. The BJP's organizational reset, it now signals that the party is shifting into campaign mode well ahead of the assembly elections. On to South Korea now. The country's investigation into alleged religious influence in politics has reached a new stage. Lee Man-hee, the 95-year-old founder of the Sincheonji Church, has been arrested over allegations of election interference. Prosecutors have even accused Lee of using church networks to recruit more than 50,000 followers into the Conservative People Power Party between 2021 and 2024. Investigators believe the effort was intended to influence presidential and legislative primaries, including support for former President Yoon Suk-yeol. Authorities also suspect the church sought favorable treatment from political leaders. A Seoul court approved Lee's arrest, citing concerns that evidence could be destroyed. Lee even appeared in court but did not respond to reporters' questions. Shin Cheon-ji has denied the allegations. The church says Lee cooperated with investigators and has expressed concern about his age and health. Now, the case is part of a wider inquiry into alleged links between religious groups and political figures in South Korea. It comes as authorities continue multiple investigations connected to former President Yoon Suk-yeol. The probe has also reached the Unification Church. Its leader, Hak Jahan, has been arrested in a separate case involving allegations of bribery and political favors. Both Han and Lee deny any wrongdoing. The investigations are now focusing on whether religious organizations played a role in shaping political decisions and electoral outcomes. Well, that's all we have in this edition of Race to Power, but more news and developments wait on the other side. Stay tuned to WION World is One. Thank you for watching.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. Around 169 buildings have been totally reduced to rubble. Every time there's a warning, they just come to this public area where there are around 200 tents and they reside for a while and then they go back to their home. Some of the Lebanese people enjoying their time, celebrating, singing, dancing, and some others forcibly displaced. From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World is One.
Is he looking?
No.
Blending the comforting nostalgia of campus life with fresh adaptations, college romance shows are making a major comeback. Know how fictional characters shape real-life college fashion.
I think it was a very, very gratifying.
And meet actress Soni Rastan as she discusses the little joys of being a grandparent. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness. Yoga,